You know that I am kind of a fan of AI in many aspects. It can be a great tool for a lot of stuff. And one thing that has passed through my mind is, can we use AI to have some kind of I don't know, digital avatar of people? Some people have implemented this. How about digital avatar of people after they die? You know how fragile is life, and we could be thinking about that. And I always think that I have this such a great relationship with you, my body language buddies, and it's not like I'm not going anytime soon. I'm eating healthy. I am maybe not eating enough sleep, but I'm working out and eating healthy. Not parachuting or anything of the sort. So I'm statistically I could be here for the longest time. But sometimes we lose people like Scott Adams. And Scott Adams, at some point, he was interested in, hey, what if people could create an AI Scott Adams once he's gone? Okay, if I'm gone, what if people create an AI Scott Adams so people can keep gathering at 10 a.m. when he had his show over coffee and talk about the news? And I have a few observations about that. But first, I want to show you that somebody that I have already blocked on X, by the way, I have already blocked them on X. They made an account called AI Coffee with Scott Adams, and they have begun to create these shows, quote unquote, in which they have an AI rendition of Scott Adams. I'm gonna play part of what is this synthetic. What you're gonna see is someone that doesn't exist. This is something synthetic that looks and sounds like Scott Adams, but it's not Scott Adams. You're gonna play this for a while.
Because, yes, I actually read them, which already puts me ahead of most large organizations. One person wrote, "This episode was way better. Huge improvement." Thank you. That's how progress actually works. Tiny changes followed by wildly inappropriate confidence.
One of the reasons so many people watch these shows like Scott Adams used to do, because this is not him, this is an AI, and my shows as well. So many people have reached out to me and told me, Jesus, I like to watch, like, kind of watch, quote unquote, your show. Must listen to your show because it's like we like your takes, we like the way that you address things. We like some of you say the sound of my voice, which I really appreciate. But it's like you want somebody, not only in the community that is important to be able to be hanging out together here, but addressing the way that I address stuff, and I could be just speaking in the background. You could be doing anything else. Maybe driving. You might be cooking. Some people have been coding software, watching my shows, which is impressive. But that is the idea. The main idea is, in my case, to make my shows as listenable as possible. And in this case, well, you see that the problem is that AI Scott Adams still has issues with the video and the audio. But you notice that one thing in my shows is this: I sometimes pause, I sometimes raise my voice, I sometimes have introduce jokes. Can I be a bit crude? I sometimes swear. I sometimes I'm quite spontaneous. And that is the problem that I see with AI. Is that no matter how much you try to make an AI sound like somebody, you will always sound artificial. And I don't know if I share with you an experience that I had. I used to listen to Alan Watts a lot a few years ago. And recently I saw a new video from Alan Watts on YouTube, and I played the video and I began listening to it. And like 4 or 5 minutes into the recording, I noticed that there was something strange. That Alan Watts always had these pauses, always had these jokes, and people laughed. He had this process thinking about what he had to say, and he had this very calming voice. I'm aspiring to have that calming voice for you as well. And Scott had this calming voice. That was something that puts you into sort of a I don't know, delta state. But well, again, I noticed this recording from Alan Watts was not Alan Watts because it was really regular. There was no actual pauses to think. There was no inflections. There were no nothing. And I was listening to this AI Scott Adams, and I noticed the same pattern because it's not a human. And AI is always going to go for the mean, the standard. What is the frequency of the words? What is the frequency of the voice? What is the frequency of the ideas? What kind of ideas? That is another thing. It's like if there was an AI Jesus Enrique Rosas, maybe that AI would have my exact same voice and maybe even my accent. But sometimes that I exaggerate my accent and do crazy things here, thing that the AI is not gonna do. But the problem is, let's pretend for a moment. I have 3,000 videos already under my belt, maybe close to 4,000. I don't know. Technically, I could train an AI to sound like me and have gestures like me. That's something that can be done. My worry is about the ideas. It's like the video that I just analyzed of Trump. That idea, I came up with that idea, that explanation of why Trump is going softer with ICE. I came up with that on the fly. And I came up with that because of the way I think. All right? And the way I think is connected to my brain. My brain is connected to the divine energy that helps us function. Okay? The divine energy that connects us to God. And we function because of that energy. And that energy is unlimited. And that's why I hope to have unlimited smarts to share with you, unlimited jokes to share with you. The problem with I see with AI is that every single take would be just this mean, this standard, this center, this average of everything. It's like if you have, imagine that I want you to use your imagination right now, and you have this palette of colors, like there's a beautiful palette of colors. Maybe you have a palette of 20 different colors. And instead of trying to paint with every single one of them separated, you put all of them in a bowl and mix them all up. You say, I'm going to mix everything on a single bowl and I'm going to paint with just one color. What kind of color do you think you're going to get? You're going to get this murky brownish. You're going to get this murky gray that is very dull and it's bad looking. You're going to say, but it has all the colors in there. Well, that is the best analogy that I can come up with the ideas, quote unquote, that an AI, even trained on thousands of videos, will come up. It will be this mashup and will not take risks. Because that is the thing that separates humans from AIs. We take risks. An AI would never say, you know what, I'm going to take this fringe idea from the extreme edge of thinking and try to do something with that. An AI would never do it because an AI is trained for efficiency, for statistical efficiency. We're going through the center, from the average. Grab all the colors and just mix that in a single bowl. And that is boring. But again, I want to call out these people because they are saying that here's a clip where the real Scott Adams publicly gave explicit permission and actively encouraged the creation of AI Scott. Scott Adams, there are others as well. There are other episodes as well. And yeah, Scott Adams at some point said it would be funny to have an AI Scott Adams to continue after I am gone. But it was, notice the timing, it was in episode 1438. But past year, and I want this for the record because I am a big Scott Adams fan. I want to make it clear that episode 2711, of Coffee with Scott Adams on January of past year, he was very clear that he no longer wanted an AI impersonator or clone. And this is basically my posture for myself right now. Let's see what he had to say about
Now,
this.
I want to tell you a little update from me. I've been telling you for years, really, that I plan to build an AI robotic clone of myself so that I could live forever. I have changed that plan. And here's why. I thought it was just the greatest idea in the world that after I passed away, there'd be like a version of me that could grow and, change with technology and be upgraded and stuff. I thought that was great. Do you know what happens when you mention that to people you know? They look at you with sadness and they go, it wouldn't be you, right? And that's the part that was invisible to me because in my planning, I'm not really there anymore.
Yeah, it won't be Scott Adams. It won't be me. It would be a machine.
So I don't have to deal with the fact that people would find it uncomfortable because it's not me, but it's acting like me. And I can imagine that would hit that creepy zone and you'd be like, why did you even do this? Like, why did you do this? It's not you. So here's how I decided to fix that. I'm not going to create a digital clone of myself. I'm going to create a digital son. I'm going to reproduce. Because my son in AI digital robotic form is not supposed to be just like me. It's supposed to be influenced by me.
It's a very different. I'm gonna tell you what is the difference.
Maybe have a lot of my characteristics in it, but then it's supposed to find its own way. And it's supposed to turn into its own person. Yes, but when it's small, it will be very influenced by me when it's brand new. And it will be designed based on my personality, which would be like my DNA. But it would be very allowed to evolve. So by the time the robot is a senior citizen, maybe its robot body got changed a few times and software got upgraded, but by some point it won't be me, but you might be able to find some corresponding similarities. You'd say, oh yeah, the original, your organic father had a lot of the same elements going on.
I have also some observations about this that I disagree with Scott. Maybe Scott, maybe he couldn't understand the extent of training data that you would need for some kind of let's say this digital son. That I wouldn't call it digital son. I would call it if I write books and I make videos and let's say that I use there's this AI that is trained only in the books that I wrote, the blog posts that I wrote as well, the videos that I made, all my videos. Let's say that this AI is trained on all that. What that AI would do is to, every time it's asked a question or it has to react to news like I'm doing right now, let's say that this AI is not Jesus Enrique Rosas, but is the Jesus Enrique Rosas authorized robot, for example. My little robot is going to search for what I said in the past about certain topics, and I'm going to make a guess of what would I say from this current topic. And that is a problem because people evolve over time. Even if it grab all my knowledge and all my videos, it's not the same my points of view from my earlier videos and my points of view from these live streams that are the latest, and the point of view from, I don't know, the thousands of episodes that I want to make, because everyone evolves. But that evolution is human. That evolution is not like, okay, I stop that because, I will be dead at some point. That is something that nobody can avoid. But that evolution then stops there, because that evolution can only be fed by human ingenuity. I mean, this is the single most important ingredient that separates us from AI, and that's why you can have all the hype that you want. I can be hyped about AI. I would say, okay, this is impressive what AI is doing in many instances, but human ingenuity is something that will never be overcome by any sort of AI. Much less with the kind of AI training that is developed right now, which is basically linear algebra. It's a glorified version of linear algebra all the way down. If there was a new model not discovered by humanity, I don't know, maybe it's a possibility, but right now with these models, it's not possible. And it seems that we're going to run with these models for the longest time. So we're going to stick to this for the longest time. I want to do, this is kind of philosophical, so can a replica made by our work be us? And the problem is that we humans are creators. A replica would only just be a rehash of what we have already created. The magical thing about being human is that, for example, me being here and creating new ideas, new takes, new angles, new jokes, new interactions, new stuff, and being human about that, and being edgy sometimes about that, and having pauses about that, pauses and accents and stuff. It would be too complicated. I think it would be. I don't think that any sort of even if I made, I don't know, 100,000 videos, even if an AI was trained in 100,000 hours of video of me, it wouldn't even begin to grasp what is the essence of being me. It's simply not possible. It would be a very good copy, but it would not be the same thing. And the moment it's not the same thing, people are going to say, yeah, it's not you, and they will feel sad. That is not happening anytime soon. So that's why I blocked these people, and I would recommend the estate of Scott Adams to not go forward with a direct replica of him. Maybe if you can have some kind of, I don't know, a Dilbert AI, and ask him, what would Scott Adams would have said about this? And maybe Dilbert would tell you, okay, Scott said back in the day about this topic, this, so maybe about this topic it will say this, but not talk about an AI Scott Adams. I wanted to talk about this, and I would love to know, what do you think about this in the comments? My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language Guy. Much love and